Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Speedify Live Office Hours. I'm your host, Alex Gizas. And, this is the live stream about live streaming. Oh, it's Speedify. So brought to you by Speedify, the software that lets you combine all of your internet connections together into one super connection. This is where we practice what we preach and bring Speedify live. So this is office hours, which means the show is for you. Those of you watching, if you post comments underneath, Brian and I will respond. So our special guest today is Brian Purdell, our Chief Technical Officer. So let's go to the Speedify section of the show. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Alex. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Brian and I saw each other yesterday, which is very exciting in this virtual universe. Man, I didn't get a picture of you actually standing in front of this wall. I should have.
I know. Yeah, I need it.
little bits of knot wall appearing behind your head, giving it away.
A little bit.
So Speedify, the app that combines all your internet connections. How does it work, Brian?
So, we use VPN APIs that are available on different platforms. And so we work on iOS and Android and Windows and Linux and Mac. And on each of those, we use some VPN APIs that are available. And so we can kind of sit in between the applications and whatever network connections you have. And we can make decisions really on a packet by packet basis on exactly what to do with that packet. And so we're using VPN APIs. We're sitting there. We encrypt everything between your device and our servers. We've got servers all over the place. And so that means we can do cool things like shift packets away from a connection that starts to fail, and spread. If you have a stream and none of your connections are actually fast enough to do it, we can actually do bonding and sort of split that one stream across multiple connections. And so kind of sitting in the middle there lets us do a lot of interesting things with your traffic.
Nice. Hi, Jay. Greetings. How's life in Texas? At least you're not in LA where they got 6 feet of snow or whatever. Crazy stories. So why don't we take a lead from Jay and drop in the comments if you're where you are right now. So I'm in Philadelphia. Brian's somewhere out in the burbs of Philadelphia. And let us know where you are. All right. Rural internet prepper. We found out how to bypass Amazon Prime 100% of the time, as bypass button didn't reliably do that. We went custom DNS and used Google DNS primary and secondary. I assume there's more coming. I'd like to know exactly what you bypassed and stuff. Like, I'm into rural internet. I am interested. Tell me more. There's a lot coming in the bypass stuff. Mike, who's often on the show, would have been here today, except he's not feeling too well. He is in the middle of redoing all that bypass stuff. But if you have found successful strategies, we'd really love to hear them. All right, so it is nice in Austin. Ryan is 40 feet south of me. 40 suburbs. Alabama. All right. We drove through Alabama together once, Brian and I. Made it up to Kentucky. Stopped at All You Can Eat KFC in Kentucky. That's crazy. I guess other people may have been less impressed than I was. But in Kentucky, KFCs are all you can eat.
I tend to joke about that when we're full. I'm like, I'm going to go for KFC buffet. He's like, what are you talking about?
So I'm not the only one that made an impression on.
We just ate. I'm a little hungry. I could have 10 pieces of fried chicken.
We tested custom DNS, seemed to work great. So what did you set the DNS to? I guess that's what I'm interested in. Yeah, we let you set the DNS to whatever you want. What did you want? Hello from Iran. Why did you use JavaScript everywhere for the client side? That's your question, Brian.
Yes, so that's a good one. So it's, especially with a small team, it's tough to try to get the footprint of device support that we have. And so really from the get-go,
which is
a desktop first.
iOS and
so we started on
desktop
we first. So primarily, going back to the very beginning, we were really focused on Windows. And we found that everybody that we talked to in the press that wanted to test it said, oh, great, it's a Windows app. I use a Mac, so I'd like to test it. It's like, okay, all right. So I guess we're going to support Windows and Mac. And then, shortly after, the mobile APIs really caught up on what we could do. And so then we could really run on Windows and Mac and iOS and Android and Linux. And keeping the client app sort of up to speed and being able to add features to all of them and stuff as we go across 5 different platforms and 5 different, totally native apps, just would have been too difficult. And so we made the decision, like, do we either just support 1 or 2 platforms, or do we want to really go with a, kind of a web app sort of thing. And so that's what we did. So it's kind of, Electron kind of made that easy and stuff. But we use the native web views on all the different platforms. So we don't have to bundle the whole like Electron thing along, but really lets us have a consistent feel across the different platforms and add features without, having one platform really lag the others or anything like that. So that's why we went that way. I think that seems more and more common.
Williams in Detroit, Michigan could have used bonded power the last few days. I don't know. Guess the weather kind of missed us, which it usually does. All right. Mar B says, my brain says that the KFC in Kentucky tastes better, but I've never been. It's not better. It's more. It's more. It is different, but it's more. It's more fried chicken than you can imagine. All right. Rural internet. We have about 20 running out there now with 50 more coming this summer.
That's awesome.
Nice. Gets great. All right. Once we set those DNS, our customers stopped having Amazon stream messages.
That's interesting. So this is, where did you change the DNS setting? Was this on the device, or is this in the Speedify DNS settings, or where? I guess I'm a little curious where you set that. But yeah, I'm wondering if this was a thing where the Amazon app was just using basically encrypted DNS, if it was using DNS over HTTPS or something where we couldn't see what was going on. I don't think we've seen that before, but it's really interesting. Okay, right. So in the Speedify custom settings, set the DNS to Google, and then it started working. Really interesting. We'll have to take a look at that.
All right. Ryan, we need power bonding. Electrify, new product. All right, they're bonding 3 5G with in-motion Starlink. Oh, okay. UFD Tech did that. They had 3 cellulars and a Starlink on their roof, and they drove across the country, and it worked. They had a couple outages. Where was that? Pretty far west, somewhere, the Nevada area or something. They had a few outages, but they drove for days, live streaming. Middle of farmland, middle of nowhere, middle of forests, middle of cities. One of them, Starlink stopped working when they went to the city, but hey, they had 3 cell phones, and vice versa. William, no power for 5 days. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it definitely helps. We'll take a look. It's good to know.
Yeah. So there's some lawsuits, right? The FCC finally got embarrassed into having to slap some of these guys, right? They just put out maps claiming they have coverage all across the state. Finally, the people who are in those areas and couldn't get service complained enough that some of those guys got smacked.
Yeah.
All right. You use JavaScript for cross-platform, but you use iOS-like UI for it. Why is that? By the way, the user interface has a real lag problem. You should think about it.
So, yeah, we use the native style widgets on particularly Android and iOS, just so the app feels more at home. It's kind of easy to make the dialogues and that sort of thing kind of feel a bit more at home across those things. I'm a little curious what sort of device you're on as far as the lag you're seeing. I think normally on kind of current iOS and Android devices and especially desktop, interacting with it and all that should be pretty snappy. The graph intentionally, the update, the refresh rate on the graph is intentionally as slow as it is. for battery and for CPU utilization. Actually, we've had that much faster, and it looks cool and it looks great. And it updates, and then we look at the battery impact of like, this isn't worth even 1% of our battery life. For people that have the UI up a bunch, doesn't seem worth that. So that's why that graph is on kind of an intentional slow refresh rate. But yeah, curious to know a little bit more about
our obsession with battery, right? People were claiming we were draining their battery. And as we made sure we didn't, we discovered in some cases, the culprits were things like the graph, not the bonding internet and stuff. Sometimes it was, the fancy animations. So the user interface is not that animated because we want you to be able to leave it up for hours and still not be able to say Speedify drained my battery.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Do you know the percentage of speed loss average expected with this bonding setup? 19%? We've seen about 12 to 20% on average.
So this is the 3 5Gs and the Starlink. And so our normal, like our overhead of, how much does encryption add and how much does our, packet headers add? It's a few percent. And so kind of the theoretical, if everything's working pretty well, it's something like 3% or maybe a little bit lower as far as the overhead there. Combining multiple like LTE or 5G connections and Starlink, where the latency can differ a little bit. 12 to 20% is believable over what you're seeing and over those sorts of connections. If you dial that back to really just one or two of those, I would expect that to be under 10% for sure, and probably closer to 5%. If you have a pair of connections that are pretty evenly matched speed-wise and stuff, seeing 5% and sometimes even lower in practice is stuff we see. But yeah, throwing a bunch together and having different latency and stuff on them, if you're seeing that 12 to 20%, that sounds about reasonable for real world stuff.
All right. Guys, any tips for M1, M2 Max? Only has one Wi-Fi adapter.
So, the most common time that I'm actually using Speedify and bonding on my M1 MacBook is I'm on Wi-Fi and I have my phone plugged in, and so I have Wi-Fi plus LTE on my Mac. And I really wish that Apple would sell just a Mac with 5G, but here we are. I think as much as you can connect things over USB, the better. And especially if you're just using a Mac and you're plugged into a dock, a lot of times that'll have a bunch of USB connections and a gigabit Ethernet or something just hanging off the Thunderbolt dock. And so that's usually a pretty easy way to go. But I think the common use case of like, kind of want to keep my phone charged anyway, so I don't mind plugging into my laptop all the time, that's a pretty good way to get Wi-Fi plus LTE.
I think I'm on an M1 Mac Mini right now. What are you on? You're on a Mac, I assume?
I'm on a MacBook Air. Yeah, M1.
Yeah. I was hoping this camera would see it, but it just misses it. It's on the table here. I'm not going to risk moving the camera or the Mac Mini while I stream.
That's a good call.
Pretty happy with it. Yeah, that's right. All right. So Speedify is one of the few VPNs that work in Iran, but ISPs are blocking servers regularly, or they block VPN authentication servers. Yes.
Yeah, they're making it more and more difficult, for sure. So we're holding out and doing what we can, but it's tough.
Yes. All right. Should we let's talk about what's new in Speedify. So let's go to the next section. All right. So Mr. Technology, what is coming?
So on the back end, there's a few things we're working on that I'm excited about. And so there are some major changes coming in authentication. And so, how you you log in and how you connect and how you authorize other devices and stuff. There's a major overhaul of that coming. And so I'm really excited. There's a lot of stuff I would love to just, use Face ID and use the passkeys and all the cool stuff that's come out. And so that's a major effort right now, is to really overhaul how you sign in to Speedify. And the goal there being really to make it easier, make it impossible to forget your password, because it's in your regular keychain and it's Face ID and all the cool stuff that devices can do now. That's kind of the goal, is just to make that flow way easier for everybody. We've been on a big push to sort of scale up and to deal with, a big influx of users. And so I think we're going to start to see some nice payoff from that in the next week or two as well, where I think people that have had issues, either, takes a long time to connect, or they have a tough time finding a city to connect to or something. I think that should get resolved in the next week or two. And on the app side, you already mentioned the changes coming to bypass. I know Mike and team are working hard on that. That I think should be really good. There's still some apps and some websites that just really are cracking down on VPNs. And so I think the more that we can do to make that easier and smoother for everybody, the better. Let's see, what did I leave out?
Do you think that people who burn off their fingertips have trouble unlocking their phones? Yeah. What about people who swap their faces with John Travolta? Could you make it possible for the end user to set specific websites for bypassing the VPN?
I think so. So I think we're looking at really expanding the list of things that are built in, because a lot of times it's, you may just think it's your bank website, but there's really 12 domains included in there. And so I think, but yeah, we've discussed that. We're a little bit afraid of making that part of the app really complicated. But I think we've discussed letting people sort of put their own domains or their own, IP ranges or something in there for bypass. And I think we definitely might end up doing that.
I've run into multiple financial, government, entertainment services that block my traffic and make it necessary to go around Speedify on my end. Yeah, so we're working on making that much better. Yeah, I know Kevin and Mike have been doing all sorts of neat little things. They've made it a little bit more resistant in the next version to packets out of order. Kevin did some work to make it figure out the latency even faster, both of which together means much more resistant to jitter. So I think a lot of times where Speedify's performance hasn't been so great, because the internet's getting faster and slower, we'll adjust and deal with that now. I know that the memory usage on the Mac is cut way down in the next release. And Mike was ranting to me this morning that he's redone to the very latest store kit stuff. So buying on the Mac or the iPhone is much slicker, right? You can go in the App Store and purchase, and then you go right back to the app, and you're now in paid mode without having to do anything. So I don't know. Sounds like a lot of little improvements all over the place, but all of them seem to benefit the Mac. So I think the Mac might be the biggest winner in this next release. Mr. Reality, is it possible adding crypto payment method for Speedify service?
Maybe. There's a few big reasons why we've sort of shied away from doing that so far. I think the variability and the value of what we actually get from that is part of that, and seems to, reading around and hearing other people's experiences with accepting crypto payments for things like this, seems like a good way to attract people that are looking to commit crimes and stuff. So I'd rather not deal with that. So yeah, couple big reasons that have been keeping us away from doing that, but maybe, we'll see what this year looks like.
William asks, are there any distant plans that you'd like to do in the next few years? Yes. Next question. Yeah, so we have crazier stuff coming. We have crazier stuff coming. We were playing with that lunch. You weren't there, Brian. We had a good lunch today,
Right.
showing off all of our Gee Whiz stuff, adding as much cool stuff to Speedify as there currently is in Speedify, doubling the cool. I'm really excited about it. Also, how about allowing a user blacklist for certain servers that have been shown to be a problem, especially for sites that use Cloudflare on their end? Right, so
this
our
would,
servers. He means our servers. When they realize that some of our servers are being blocked by the sites they most like to visit, they'd like to not use those servers of ours anymore.
Yeah, this is something I'd like to see as well. I think it's the main question has been how to add this to the UI without making things super complicated. But yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see this too. And kind of a button saying, I don't ever want to use the server again. We sort of got there with the disconnect prompt that's in there now, where if you disconnect, it asks, like, do you want to try a different server? But yeah, I think.
But the next day it might go back, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
All right. All right. So let's go on to company updates. Let's go. Huge news. Our Twitch name is no longer Speedify Live. We are now Speedify on Twitch. We got it. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be magically redirecting everyone. A whole lot of my browser windows that I had open on different computers, came up with errors, and I had to, fix the URL. So you guys want to check that out? Yes, there's the URL on Twitch. Boom. Twitch TV/Speedify, same as everything else. So Twitch has become much more normal. But this stream, which we used to send to Twitch, a lot of our streams now we're just kind of doing on YouTube primarily, which is where I think everyone who's commented is. We're also sending it to Facebook and Twitter, but maybe LinkedIn. But who watches there? No, people watch on YouTube. YouTube is where we're going to be. So what are we using the Twitch for? Let's see. Does this work? Yeah, okay. Drag things around a little bit here. So we're doing our Starlink stream. So this is our Twitch channel right now. We have a Starlink on the roof, and we are running Speedify over it, and we are gathering vast amounts of stats in order to improve Speedify's performance. In order to get that data, we need to use data. So simple enough. We put up a bunch of cameras pointing at the Philadelphia skyline. You can put in the comments stuff. Here, I'll type in exclamation point bridge. Spell right. And another second. We change the camera looking at the bridge. I can tell you exclamation point expressway. And the other camera pointed at the expressway. It's fun stuff. We're playing chill music in the background. There's all kinds of weird commands you can run. Nice views of the city. And that's mostly what's on our Twitch channel these days. Check it out. Leave it background, chill music. It's kind of relaxing. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen. I just put it on the kitchen TV. Leave it up. Watch the pretty views. Yeah, there's all kinds of commands. exclamation point graph, exclamation point astronaut, exclamation point UFO. In the text underneath the video, it often shows what the commands were. All right. Any plans to stream to MySpace? Just kidding. Well, I know we are. We pretty much checked every box in Restream for where we want to stream to, and now we're realizing there's probably too many. I'm using Speedify for the last 3 years, and it's getting better and better with every update. Combining internet connections helped me a lot. Good. It's good to hear because, quite frankly, Kevin's been working his butt off. And it turns out there's just a million different situations. Starlink is different than cellular. Cellular is different than Wi-Fi. DSL is different than fiber. And, when you get on the edge of range of any of these, they act different again. And iPhone's different than Android. And so he's grinding away, and he'll work his butt off for a month and come back successful with it 1% faster, which doesn't sound like much, but over a couple of years, holy cow, has he made a giant difference. It's compounding performance gains. And I appreciate you, Kevin, if you're out there watching. Yes, MySpace. Raider servers on our top 10. See, the problem is you say, oh, this server is really good, and you direct everyone to it. And then I suspect there's probably some users doing some bad things. Well, it might not always be us, right? Even our users, right? Sometimes it's someone else in the same data center or launching some attack, and they just say everyone in that data center is a bad guy, which catches us.
Yep.
All right. Ebullient Adventure. Abundance. I like to work with that stream in the background. Kevin is watching. All right. So since you're here, Kevin, we have some questions. Just kidding. All right. Why don't we go to the mailbag? I hear we have a question or two. And let's go. All right, we have sent Brian to the room. And, he digs around in his bag, and perhaps there's a letter you'd like to put up here. All right.
There we go.
Can't connect. I don't know if you'll remember me, but some time back, we did a lot of testing on the software to try to get it working well. I'm in a position now where I have a hardwired internet connection, a separate Wi-Fi that will yield about the same speed as the wired connection. Interested in bonding for double upload speed, I'm trying to use the Windows software. When I run the program, it shows a window that has a button, Restart Speedify Service. When I click it, but nothing seems to happen. I did check services, and as far as I can tell, the service is running. What do you think I should do? Firewall. They installed some third party, I know immediately. Some third party antivirus firewall package, and it is blocking that Speedify program from talking to that Speedify service. And you just have to tell it to stop doing that. Instructions on that depend on what kind of antivirus or firewall you're using, or you can uninstall it. Windows Defender is pretty good these days. Sorry, not give you a chance to answer that one. It's just so obvious. I knew the answer. All right, let's go to the next letter, Brian. Right. Hi. When I have Speedify set for primary and secondary, if both network connections are Ethernet, Speedify starts running in redundant mode. How do I stop this as it wastes too much data cost? I only want primary, secondary. Does this on and off. It was fine yesterday, but today is using primary mostly. How can this be changed? Thanks.
So, yeah, I mean, if you are just running in speed mode, I mean, you can, there's the streaming enhancements checkbox. So if you just don't want it to go redundant, like actual redundant, if it says it's streaming in redundant mode, you can turn that off. But I think this particular user had multiple Ethernet connections to the same router. I think they were actually using the same uplink, and so things were a little bit strange because of that. Normally that works fine, but you're not going to see a speed boost doing that. And so you'll do that and say, what the heck? It looks the same as if I just use one. But yeah, I think there two Ethernet connections to the same router and setting them to the same priority. It was splitting traffic over both, like we'd expect. But I think it wasn't quite what they were expecting to see. But yeah, I think leaving things in primary and secondary. Yeah, if you really don't want things to go redundant, you can turn that off. You can turn the streaming mode enhancements off, and it won't do that.
All right. EA says, so Speedify stand no chance against a firewall?
So
in reference,
yeah, in reference to the earlier question, I mean, it's all really comes down to how they work. So something like Norton Internet Security or Bitdefender or whatever, a lot of those things will put their own network device into the system, and they may work on top of Windows's firewall APIs as well. But yeah, I mean, if all of the traffic on the system is going through some Norton virtual adapter for packet filtering, there's not much that we can do to get around that.
Right. It's important to note this isn't actually the VPN traffic either.
Right.
It's the user interface trying to talk to the VPN software. Right. They're split for security reasons. Because the actual VPN software has complete access to all of your internet connections. So it shouldn't run on the screen where someone can drag and drop things into it. So there's separate programs running as separate users to minimize the security risk. All right, looks like Alex is 720p to me. I don't know. My computer says I'm 1080p for those mentioning video issues. All right, well, we're here at 2:37. I think this has been a pretty good stream. So let's see. I have no idea what's coming on future streams. So you should, subscribe if you haven't yet. Click the bell. You got to click that so you get notifications when we do go live. But once you subscribe, you'll see our upcoming streams. It'll be awesome. Twitch, remember, it's not Speedify Live anymore. Now it's just Speedify. And that's cool. So thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. I know you're very busy working the mailroom there. Thank you to everyone in the audience. Guys, I really appreciate the questions. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you using Speedify. This is all awesome. But I will catch you guys later. Good night, everybody.
Bye.